This week for the hotel inspector, it's the Battle of Hasting.
Why did you...
Just a minute, Ruth, sorry. I'm in the middle of a sentence. If you don't mind, I'd like to finish.
I wouldn't store my dustbins in this bathroom.
I could kill the woman.
Beer mats holding up this table.
She's this close to being told, go away, I don't need you, I don't need your advice.
This is the Grand, a 17-bedroom hotel on the Hastings seafront. It's run by Peter Mann, a divorced former civil servant who bought the hotel when he returned to the UK after decades overseas.
I've owned the Grand Hotel for about 18, 20 years now. Or rather, the hotel has owned me.
But the Grand is in peril. A new breed of cut-price competition has moved into town.
The biggest threats here are from cheap budget hotels, and I've noticed a serious decline in the number of people staying here out of season.
With its old-fashioned exterior and decor, the Grand is in danger of being left behind. Peter's called on celebrated hotelier Ruth Watson for help. It's her job to knock the Grand into shape, but will her straight-talking fall on deaf ears?
If she's going to come here a cross between Darth Vader, Genghis Khan and Gordon Ramsay all rolled into one, then that's not going to work at all.
But what kind of impression does the hotel make?
The Grand is anything but grand. Its signage is really bad, a variety of typefaces and just very odd. And more importantly, there's so much peeling paint, rusting pipes and dead plants in the windows. This is not a bad house, but my goodness, it needs some loving care and attention. I really would not be stopping to stay here.
So Ruth has quickly identified a problem. The hotel's faded frontage could be putting people off.
I don't know where reception is. There's lots of pamphlets and information, but no sign of a body. Well, this sort of typifies the typical English seaside lounge. It's all just very, very tired and seedy. I suppose if you were 90 years old, you might want to come and sit in here, but I can't imagine most people fighting their way in here.
With its jungle of overgrown plants and tired furniture, the hotel's lounge is as dated as its exterior.
This is, I think, categorically the most strange reception area I've ever been in. And I have to ring 2 bells in order to get service. We'll give it a whirl.
Hello, welcome.
Hello, I expected you to come from over there for some reason.
Well, Ruth Watson.
Yes, and
Hotel
Peter,
Inspector.
hello.
Peter Mann, Grand
Yes.
Hotel Hasting.
Time to get down to business and not a moment to waste. Ruth needs to establish exactly what Peter's problems are, but he doesn't seem to share her sense of urgency.
Peter, how long have you been trading the Grand?
We came back to England about 20 years ago, a month before the hurricane.
Right.
You remember the Billfish
Yes,
hurricane that wasn't a hurricane? Caused a lot of damage because, as you know, all the trees still had the leaves on.
Yes. We're not here to talk about the storm.
We hit the...
Okay,
yeah, but it's interesting.
No, it's not that interesting because I was there and I know all about it and I don't need to know that information.
It hit the trees.
Let me ask you about the hotel. Why did you...
Just a minute, Ruth, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of a sentence. If you don't mind, I'd like to finish.
OK, let's just talk about the hotel. So at what point do you think that what you were doing here became less than adequate for the clientele you had?
I think we've always been less than what clientele want.
And what are the problems?
One of the biggest factors has been the increase in the number of budget boxes, as I call them, where if you pre-book early enough in advance, I think you can stay for £26 a night or even less.
Right. But do you not think that budget hotels are providing something customers want?
Oh, absolutely. And that's why standards must always increase. And that's why someone like yourself can help.
There seem to be, to me, immediately some things which are actually so severely in need of doing. For example, the frontage, which, you know, has got paint peeling, it's got rusty pipes, and all of those things I would have thought you would have been out there, if not yourself, at least getting some contractors in to repair.
I procrastinate. I do have a list of things that I should do in the hotel. But that list has been sitting on my desk for maybe 20 years.
Right. I'm sure there's going to be lots of other things as well. For example, why is your reception desk halfway up the staircase?
The hotel has 17 ensuite bedrooms. Tonight, Ruth is staying in room 3, a double at the front of the building.
There we are, Ruth. Welcome to your room.
Thank you.
Well, I wish you a good night.
Thank you.
And I'll see you tomorrow at
Yes,
breakfast.
I
Sleep
will.
well.
Yes, all right. Take
Bye-bye.
care. Hard to know where to begin. Just every single element in this room is dated and wasn't even lovely 20 years ago. And this, I mean, look at it. It's more like a smooth Brillo pad. It's so thin and horrible. And just look at these towels. This is something that you would use for the dog. You know, Peter's talking about a one-star hotel. I mean, this is no star.
Ruth's been given one of the Grand's best rooms. Keen to see what a typical room might have to offer, she embarks on a more comprehensive investigation.
Well, Peter calls this one of his bad rooms. And he's not wrong. I can't believe this. I really can't believe this. A totally illegal, dangerous... I mean, this is just disgraceful. I mean, Peter's got to get rid of these today. And beer mats. Beer mats holding up this table. I mean, this is just cruddy. Oh, fuck. I wouldn't store my dustbins in this bathroom. I don't need to say anything. Everything about it is horrible. Everything.
Clearly unimpressed, Ruth settles in for the night while Peter's left licking his wounds.
I have a bad impression, truthfully. I think she's cold. I think she uses bad language. Trying to tell me that the exterior of the hotel should be painted immediately, or even this year for that matter, is wrong. No, I don't like the lady at all. End of story.
And there are turbulent waters ahead.
What are these doing on the table, Peter? I thought at first they were dried flowers. They're dead flowers. Repulsive. I'm sorry, it actually makes me feel ill.
Peter Mann's been running the Grand Hotel in Hastings for over 20 years. Set in his ways, he's struggling to keep up with the times. He's been losing custom to modern budget hotels and needs to make the Grand stand out from the crowd. That's where Ruth Watson comes in. She's already identified 2 areas for Peter to work on if he's to survive the onslaught of cheap and cheerful accommodation.
Grand is anything but grand. This is not a bad house, but my goodness, it needs some loving care and attention.
At fault, the flaking frontage and its multitude of ugly and inconsistent signs. No less guilty, the rooms filled with mismatching furniture and outdated fittings. An uncomfortable night's sleep hasn't made Ruth change her mind.
Well, I've had a not particularly pleasant night. The bed is very uncomfortable. The mattress just isn't very good quality, and actually that goes for everything in this room.
I think I need a cup of tea after meeting Ruth.
Downstairs, Peter's busy cooking breakfast, but yesterday's altercation with Ruth has left him a little raw.
Round 2 with Ruth this morning. We had quite a tussle yesterday. I slept with a clear conscience, like a baby. I think maybe Ruth, if she reflects seriously on some of the sharp comments she came out with yesterday, I think she might have had trouble sleeping, but I certainly didn't.
In the bathroom, very, very unappealing loo around the hinges. Lots of crud there. The shower makes a terrible noise and it's not particularly clean, the shower head either. And again, it's incredibly basic. And now, of course, I have the joys of breakfast to look forward to.
Breakfast is served in the basement dining room, where Peter displays mementos from his travels abroad as a Foreign Office civil servant. With dozens of toys and dolls from around the world covering every surface, the room's an overpowering jumble.
I feel as if I'm actually in a shop of some description. It's the most unusual breakfast room I've ever been in. Look at this piano. Does anyone like this? I imagine Peter does, but it's just too personal. It's bringing too much character. Get rid of the character.
And if the room left Ruth feeling underwhelmed, the table setting doesn't improve matters.
I honestly can't think of anything very nice to say about this whole setup. I thought at first these were dry flowers, but actually they're dead flowers. Everything is slightly tacky and grubby, feeling the salt and peppers are all grubby and the flags all grubby, and people just don't live like this. And why would you want to come and stay somewhere like this?
Peter prides himself on his Sussex breakfast using locally sourced ingredients from around the region.
Sussex sausages, Sussex bacon, Sussex mushrooms. If Ruth doesn't like my breakfast, it just reinforces my belief that there's something seriously wrong with the lady.
I'm rather dreading this breakfast.
Good morning, Ruth. Good to see you. How are you?
Peter, how are you?
I hope you slept well last
Yeah,
night.
not too bad, not too bad.
Good, good. We'd like to serve breakfast to you. Would you like tea or coffee?
Coffee, please, yeah.
I'll get you a cup of coffee.
Yes,
all right?
thank you.
And I'll bring you some milk and juice. Would you like some juice?
What sort of breakfast am I going to have then?
We have English Sussex breakfast, all local ingredients.
Well, first of all, I'd like some fresh flowers.
Yes.
What are these doing on the table? What are these doing on the table, Peter? I thought at first they were dried flowers. They're dead flowers. Dirty salt and peppers. I'd like clean salt and pepper. I'd like a new flag, which looks as if it's seen better days, this flag.
We did try and wash these flags. And we also tried ironing them, and we melted England and France. France should well be melted in any case, but I'm afraid you have to live with this particular flag.
OK. I mean, it's a personal indulgence, obviously, all of this. How do you think guests feel about it?
Well, we have guests who've never had their country's flag flown before on their table.
No,
in
I
England.
wasn't really meaning the flags. I mean the whole plethora of stuff in here.
You might think they're just DCs, dust collectors.
Have you ever thought of actually just
Removing some of the clutter? Yes.
on the list?
It's on my list. I could kill the woman. She is so rude, so offensive. Cannot believe it. Peter, man, calm down. Breathe deeply. Tony, could you give a pot of tea for this lady? I'm using the word lady in inverted commas.
I can just hear Peter in the kitchen saying, the lady, I use the word in inverted commas, her tea, which I take some exception to.
I'm going to let her calm down and enjoy her tea and toast.
I think the fact is that Peter revels in the idea that he's a maverick character who does things differently from everyone else. I don't think he is remotely apologetic for it. I think he enjoys it. I think he thinks it's a bit of a wheeze. I don't think he's taking any of this seriously. I think he's just challenging me to see how I react and what I will say.
Ruth should be spelt L-E-S-S on the end, ruthless, because that's what she is.
But is Peter about to serve up a diplomatic triumph?
There we are, Ruth.
Oh,
Sussex breakfast.
as cooked by your own fair hand.
Absolutely. I hope you
Very
enjoy
much.
it.
Thank you.
Would you like any sauces? Brown sauce, tomato sauce?
No, thank you
All right.
very much. Thank you.
Enjoy.
Well, on first impression, this is a very crowded plate, which might be intentional. I've got an egg here, which is completely solid. A horrible piece of black pudding, which has got its plastic skin on. I don't think Peter knows anything about cooking. And the sausage, I'm sorry, just looks repulsive. It's got these kind of wounds in it. I don't know, looks like he's cut it or something. It's extremely coarse textured. And it looks a bit raw in the middle. It does nothing for the eye, and I'm afraid my stomach is too weak to want to go further with this experiment. Sorry, it actually makes me feel ill.
Breakfast may have left a bad taste in Ruth's mouth, but her work isn't done. It's time to confront procrastinating Peter with her findings so far.
The biggest question I have to ask you is, you have been here for 20 years.
Yeah.
Why haven't you done anything?
It's a question of finding time to do them.
20 years, Peter? 20 years? 20 years. That's a person's lifetime.
All these things take time.
If I wanted to get rid of the reception area, I would have got rid of that on week 1.
Not one to brook excuses, Ruth moves straight on to the hotel's crumbling facade, the first item for discussion.
But what I'd like to see is to take down that ragamuffin-y lot of stuff out there and actually just have one nice-looking sign that says the Grand Hotel.
The front of the hotel is not that important because you've got to look at how much passing trade we have, how many people.
Yeah, but it's going to be on your website as well, and if it looks all cruddy, then people are going to say, oh, that doesn't look very nice, I'm not going to stay there.
Excuse me, we had this before, if I could just finish. How much of my income comes from passing trade? Very little. So the development and looks of the outside of the hotel is not as important as doing other things in the hotel for guests.
To you. A lot of people will immediately dismiss this as somewhere to come to because they think it doesn't look tidy, neat and clean enough. And I think the more you can get rid of the obvious barriers to customers coming in, then that's the way to go.
Next, the dining room, filled with bric-a-brac and random souvenirs.
But I also think there's some truly hideous rubbish down there, which nobody finds of any interest, especially dead flowers.
Yep, I agree.
It's really quite freaky, I have to say.
Last but far from least, there's a catalogue of errors in the tatty bedrooms.
If I look at where I stayed last night, we had a deficiency of bedside lights. We have a loo that wasn't very clean behind the hinges. I went to one of the rooms and not only was the kettle very grubby, it's got a wire that has been bound together with tape, which is absolutely illegal. Could I please ask you today to just go and dump them?
But I do agree with you, we are falling down on the functionality of the hotel.
I'd like you to go and stay in one of these budget hotels just to see what they offer in terms of the room and what it provides. If this is going to survive as a viable business in years to come, something has to change.
I would have been immensely disappointed if you'd come here and hadn't spotted all these mistakes and faults and things. I think you've done a wonderful job. Whether I'm got the motivation, whether I'm going to push my procrastinating nature to one side and do all these things quickly enough for you is another matter. I will try my best to do it.
Peter's owned this hotel for 20 years, and frankly, the frontage, the rooms, most of the decoration looks as if nothing has changed in 20 years. If I'm going to help him reinvent the Grand Hotel, Peter Mann has got to reinvent himself first.
Despite his earlier hostility, Peter finally seems to have accepted Ruth's criticisms.
This morning and yesterday when she arrived, I had no wish at all to work with this lady. But now that she's come up with all these wonderful points and ideas, I have a great respect for her input. And I think we need to put the grand, as Ruth said, back into the Grand Hotel. Whether we can put the grandeur back in Peter Mann, the owner of the Grand Hotel, is another matter.
With the temporary truce called, it's time to put Ruth's plan into action. She wants Peter to tackle 3 key points. First, the hotel's dining room must be decluttered and thoroughly cleaned. Next, the hotel's bedrooms must be brought up to standard, and Peter must replace broken, tired or downright dangerous fittings. And finally, the hotel's frontage must be revamped. The crumbling paint, plaster and mismatching signs could be putting potential customers off. And it seems the initially resistant Peter has had a change of heart.
I changed my mind about the appearance of the outside of the hotel because Ruth was right. I checked my records and found, to my horror and chagrin, that it hadn't been redecorated for 6-7 years. An error of judgment, perhaps, on my part. She said the outside looked shabby, appearances are very important, so number one, we're going to redecorate the outside of the hotel and also take down at least one sign that she didn't like.
But it's not just the front that needs updating, so Ruth has sent Peter a list of the basic amenities that should be in every room.
Oh, that's better. I have slept in quite a few rooms in the hotel, just to see what they're like. So, 4 good standard pillows. Good point, Ruth. And we're not meeting that standard. The next thing on this list is valances on all bed bases. Valances are the little irritating, frilly things that go round and hide the bed base. I hate them. 1 guest information pack. I don't have those. The next thing on Ruth's checklist is the electric kettle. Clean kettle with flex in full working order. Ah, that's interesting. When you buy these kettles, they give you a very short cord, so I've extended them. It's got tape round it. I'm sure a fire officer would have a fit if he saw that and said, no, get your electrician to change that, get a proper fitting. Or better still, buy kettles with cords that are long enough. I have a confession to make about this container. These containers are the basis of solid air fresheners. Ruth made me a list here of things that she'd like to be done in the bathroom. Ruth thinks we should have new towels throughout, both hand and full bath size white, and bath mats. She's got a point. I'll tick those off and hopefully swing into action within the next 20 years and do them. Ruth opened my eyes. She's taken away those rosy-tinted spectacles that I wear, those absent-minded, forgetful, let's not bother with that pair of spectacles that I have.
If Peter's to combat the invasion of budget hotels, he has to offer equal service and facilities. To show him how far there is to go, Ruth's arranged for him to stay at a low-cost seaside hotel in nearby Bournemouth.
Good afternoon, welcome to the Ramada. How can I help?
Well, my name's Mann, Peter Mann.
The hotel's charging £59 for a double tonight, £10 less than a similar room at the Grand.
Very much.
Would you like a hand with any luggage?
No, I think I can manage.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Gosh, this looks nice. Oh, very nice. Well, we've got a good, solid, nice bed here. I love these fat, juicy pillows. Much, much better than the Grand Hotel. And 2 bedside lamps, too. Oh, look at this. Gosh, that's so much better than what I have in the hotel. I like that. Some glasses. Yeah, clean. That's a nice hospitality tray. I wonder if that's long enough. Yeah, that will reach quite easily. I like this. I'm very, very impressed with this hospitality tray. From a functional point of view, my first impressions are this is good, this is good. Oh, wow, look at this. This is great. I like this, nice sink. Everything is clean. It looks as if, as Ruth said, when you go into a hotel room, you're the first person in there. Nobody else has used it before. Oh, look at these towels. These are not cheap contract towels, and they're all the same colour. 4 white, fluffy towels. And look at the size of them. That's absolutely brilliant. I'm very impressed with this. I like this very much.
The clean modern decor and stylish fixtures are a world away from the Grand, but Peter still prefers his hotel's homegrown charms.
The room I stayed in here last night was fine as far as its functionality is concerned. It had all the things that I should have, and in many cases I don't have, but I felt kind of uneasy sleeping there, as if I'm sleeping in a bare minimalist 1960s Japanese, garden.
Peter clearly feels he has all the answers, but is his confidence premature?
I want you to stop playing at this and to be serious about it.
I'm not playing at it.
You are.
If I
You are.
She's this close to being told, go away, I don't need you, I don't need your advice.
For over 20 years, Peter Mann has owned the Grand, a 17-bedroom hotel on the seafront in Hastings. But the years have taken their toll on Peter and the hotel, and they're finding it hard to compete. With cheap budget hotels moving into the region, Peter desperately needs to smarten up his act. He's called on award-winning hotelier Ruth Watson to help bring the Grand up to scratch. Her no-nonsense approach hasn't always gone down well with Peter, and she's questioned his motives for calling her in.
I don't think he's taking any of this seriously. I think he's just challenging me.
Ruth felt that several areas needed work, including the hotel's frontage, the mismatching bedrooms, and the lacklustre breakfast.
I don't think Peter knows anything about cooking.
But first, Peter and his housekeeper Sophia need to tackle the jumble of travel souvenirs and keepsakes.
A lot of these things are of nostalgic, sentimental value to me. I'm a bit upset, but Ruth has got a point. They are DCs, they are dust collectors. I like them because they bring back memories. It's a bit overwhelming. If you come in here, you think, oh gosh, what is all this junk? Sophia, can you come and help with these boxes for me? This, of course, is going to come out again when Easter occurs, but there's a nice chick. An Indian doll and some teddy bears and a mouse. I actually put this one or a similar mouse in Ruth's bed, hoping that she'd find it. It was still there the next morning. So that looks a little bit clearer, I think.
Ruth's back to see how things are progressing, but before checking up on Peter, she's arranged to meet Kevin Borman from Hastings Borough Council. With his wealth of local knowledge, he can help her formulate a strategy to turn the Grand around.
Kevin, we're standing in this glorious beach with a working harbour, fishermen making lots of noise going off on their work, and it's just wonderful to see. I mean, I personally am quite enthralled with this because I didn't really know it existed. I mean, Hastings was just a kind of name on a map, and
much more than that. Much more than that.
It is, yeah. Now, one of the biggest problems Peter faces is competition from the budget hotels and the big boys who kind of really can put a lot of money into it. And, you know, by definition, the facilities are going to be modern. How do you think Peter can maximise being where he is?
We know that people who come to Hastings aren't interested in blandness. They come to the South Coast because they want something slightly different. They come to Hastings because Hastings is unique. And certainly the research we've done shows that the people we're attracting are interested in our history and heritage.
Ruth has a plan that could give the Grand a unique selling point.
We were thinking of converting one of his major rooms, which is the breakfast room, into a sort of quasi-museum. Do you think that that's something that actually would make him stand out amidst the other hoteliers? Is that a way to go, do you think?
It certainly sounds very positive, and if he can concentrate on the history and heritage side, the town's moving up market, and the accommodation the providers need to do that as well.
Right, OK, so the future could be rosy.
I think the future's rosy if he looks after quality.
Yes, absolutely.
Meanwhile, Peter's clearing out the last of the bric-a-brac.
There are some things which I might perhaps be tempted to sneak back when I know that Ruth's not hovering on the horizon like Darth Vader. But notwithstanding that, there were a lot of things that I was glad to get rid of. This is a bead necklace from the Amazon and the jaw of a piranha. You can swim quite happily in the Amazon. Piranhas won't bother you unless, of course, you've got a cut.
After meeting the head of tourism, Ruth heads back to the hotel to meet Peter. He's keen to show her the progress he's made.
Peter, I am really impressed because last time I was here, the front looked really a bit shabby, to say the least, and you've cracked on and you're doing major works on it.
You told me, Ruth, when you last stayed here, that appearances were very important. So the moment you left, I picked up the phone and got scaffolders and decorators organised.
Now, I noticed the signs have all come down, and obviously that's to do with redecoration, but what are your thoughts about putting them back? Because I'm hoping they're not all going to go back.
Ruth, that's wishful thinking to some extent.
Right, but they're not going to go up in their old guise.
There's definitely one sign that's not going up, and that's
Good.
the one on the right-hand side, which said a grand entrance.
The jokey
which
one.
was tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
That's not going back. I'm learning gradually to trust your judgment on this.
As long as it speeds up at some point, that'd be good.
Painting the facade and clearing the clutter is all well and good, but if Peter's going to compete with the budget hotels, the Grand needs to stand out from the crowd. Ruth has a plan.
Made outside. You have certainly started to make progress down here.
You want more progress?
Yes, I do, but I think we can help you on this. Something which I think can give this a unique selling point is you and your particular personality. What we're planning is to completely redecorate this room.
Wow.
Get rid of the mogul things and the things that are from the Far East and major on Hastings.
Okay. Yeah.
Like a mini museum. I mean, not in a dusty, fusty kind of way, in a nice, clean way, but with lots of prints and artefacts. So I think it plays to your strengths, and I think it gives this hotel, the Grand, a unique selling point. It gives it a difference from the budget hotels, a reason to come here.
It's a great idea. I'd never thought about it. That's wonderful. I'm stunned. I'm almost at a loss for words, which is most unusual for me.
It'll only take you 2 seconds, I know. So, to cap it all off, we're going to have a launch party. And what I'd like you to do is to get together a list of all the people you know in town who are of consequence, and then hopefully we'll get some press as well, and we'll do a real relaunch
isn't that
party so
exciting?
that it puts it back on the map and all the
Ruth.
work you've been doing here. But don't forget, they're going to want a tour of the bedrooms,
Oh,
so they
gosh.
have got to
Oh,
look
gosh.
good as well. Most importantly of all, I want you to stop playing at this and to be serious about it.
I'm not playing at it.
You are.
If I didn't...
You are. Peter, I know that you left a little mouse under my pillow and that you wanted to know whether I'd found it. Now you're going to laugh, but I think you're going to stop laughing now. Do you know the reason I
found
didn't
it.
find it?
Why?
Because I slept fully clothed on top of the bed because I didn't actually want to get into the manky, horrible duvet with the stained sheets and what have you, right?
My gosh.
I did not want to get into the bed. I didn't want to put my head on those pillows, etc., etc.
You had doubts about it?
Yes, grave doubts. I'm not looking for luxury, but I'm looking for absolute cleanliness in every corner and a degree of comfort. That's how this place will actually generate some income and people will come back to it.
Thank you, Ruth. Yeah.
So Ruth wants to transform Peter's dining room into a mini museum, making the most of the Grand's heritage. By inviting the key players in Hastings to witness the transformation, she's hoping to persuade Peter to take things seriously. But the decor wasn't the only problem in the dining room. Peter's much-vaunted Sussex breakfast didn't go down well with Ruth, so she's decided to don her apron and give him a crash course in cooking the full English.
First of all, start with a cold pan and you're going to colour them.
And you don't put any oil in the pan?
None, because the sausages have got plenty of fat themselves.
I've always tended to put oil in.
Well, don't. With the
As an award-winning food writer, cook and restaurateur, Ruth knows just what makes a great British breakfast. But despite her pedigree, Peter still believes he knows best.
selection, so
You
on
don't
a plate.
slice them then?
No. Just some oil and butter and some salt for me, please,
Salt?
because I like salt.
Well, I don't usually put salt in.
Right. Well, you should.
Ruth.
Yes.
I don't put salt in food. I let guests put salt in.
That's fine.
I
All right.
No,
Okay.
I feel strongly about that. I mean, not just because it's in the news.
You can feel.
You don't put salt in food. Let guests choose that.
No,
choose that option.
you're completely wrong. Any cook from
no,
Gordon
no,
Ramsay
no,
through Jamie
no,
Olive
Ruth,
to
Ruth.
Delia Smith will put salt in food because
Let's
there
not
are
talk
some.
about Delia Smith.
there-
Let's talk about you and
there
me.
are
I respect
some
your judgment and
foods-
opinion,
there
but
are
you do
some
not put
foods-
salt in food. Let the guests do it.
I'm not going to argue with you. It's your
Oh,
place,
thank you.
but you're wrong.
After the lesson, Peter reveals he's still unhappy with Ruth's methods.
I take all Ruth's advice seriously. She may have the impression that I don't, but secretly I do. I think of the two things that hurt me. One was that I didn't take her advice seriously. And the second one was, of course, that she couldn't sleep comfortably in the bed. I don't believe her. She's this close to being told, go away, I don't need you, I don't need your advice. My common sense, which lurks somewhere in the back of my head, said, Peter, don't be a fool. She knows what she's talking about. Pay attention and listen to her.
It's always an interesting experience spending time with Peter, and today he didn't disappoint. I'm really pleased, though, that he did react with great warmth to the notion that the breakfast room should be refurbished and take on a really strong Hastings theme. The next time I come to see him, we're looking to relaunch the Grand. I hope he'll have done his bit of the work, though, because I have no doubts that we'll come up to snuff. It's whether Peter will take this seriously.
A few days later, inspired by Ruth's visit, Peter finally sets about transforming the interior with new duvet covers and towels.
I think it's rather like driving a new Ferrari. You feel better if you're in a new car. You feel better if you're sitting on a new sofa. You feel better if you're sitting in a nice new bedroom that's really been looked after. I feel far more confident now I've got a building that I'm prouder of. I'm very pleased.
After 20 years of gradual decline, the hotel's fresh look has fired Peter's enthusiasm.
It's major makeover day. I'm made up. It's absolutely fabulous. The carpet chap's here. The decorators are here, and it's really exciting. My miserable, dowdy, cluttered dining room is being made into a new world altogether.
But the museum dining room needs more than just fresh paint and carpet. Ruth has asked Alison Hawkins from the local museum to provide Peter with pictures of Hastings and his hotel through the ages.
Alison, reveal all.
Here you've got the Grand Parade
Yes.
going along the seafront. Very impressive. And that's really why you've got so many pictures, because you are just on the edge.
So this is the earliest print
Yeah. So this will
of
be
Grand Hotel.
This will be about 1832.
This is incredible. It really is. I really mean that.
Peter's also tackling the hotel's lounge with its old-fashioned furniture and overgrown jungle of plants. And outside, the sun is shining on the new-look Grand. Peter's transformed the formerly peeling and faded frontage. The scaffolding's finally come down and the Grand has a fresh, clean face that won't put off passing trade. Peter's removed the jumble of signage, replacing it with a bold and uniform style. Finally, the day of the launch party's arrived, but sadly for Peter, so has a nasty rainstorm. Ruth's on her way back to check up on proceedings, but has Peter done enough to keep her happy? Peter's gutted the old-fashioned lounge with its forest of plants and tired furnishing. In its place, a simple corner unit allows guests to enjoy the uninterrupted sea view. But has Peter taken things too far?
Not quite what I meant. We now look as if we've moved out. This has gone from the sublime to the ridiculous. It's so bereft of any character. This is bleak beyond belief.
Peter's kept reception halfway up the stairs, but in an attempt at compromise, has placed a desk in the lounge for guests to sign in. But the biggest transformation is in the Grand's formerly grubby and chaotic dining room. The holiday souvenirs and clutter have gone, and in their place, Hastings has its first micro-museum, complete with pictures of the Grand throughout history.
Aha!
Welcome, Ruth. Good to see you.
Peter!
What a change.
An extraordinary difference.
Fabulous. Absolutely fabulous, and it's all because of you. Absolutely.
I can't believe it.
You were the inspiration for this, no
This
question.
is unrecognisable.
Just absorb it. It's wonderful.
I'm staggered. Absolutely staggered. I thought it was still going to be much more cluttered looking.
No, you told me to declutter.
No, I know, but I didn't think that was achievable, to be quite honest, Peter.
Ruth.
And I really like these light boxes. I mean, they work very, very well.
Brilliant. They'd also done these placemats.
Fantastic.
I took very seriously your advice that the hotel was a clutter and that my head was a clutter, and I decluttered everything. But I promised faithfully, Ruth, that I would not put any of the clutter back.
This is going to completely throw you because I want you to put some clutter back, but not in here.
In my head?
Upstairs. Just needs a little bit more clutter in it. It's very much as if somebody has moved out and they're just waiting for the removal van to come and finish off with the big bits. And I think we need to put back one of the bigger plants and maybe a couple of the other ones. I think we just need to soften it up a little bit now.
Yes.
Because it really is very strict.
Ruth is impressed with the new dining room, but Peter's efforts upstairs are still falling short.
The fact of the matter is, it doesn't take too much time and cost too much money to get two matching bedside lamps. You know, I look around the room and yes, it's tidier than it was, and yes, the bed linen is a huge improvement, but I still see this sort of potpourri of furniture. You need actually some design help here. Even here, Peter, and I really don't want to be nitpicking. No, they don't match. The colours
They're both the same colour.
They're not.
Yes, they are. They're blue. I'm red-green colourblind. Well, they're nice and fluffy. I think, frankly, being a man, it doesn't matter what colour the towel is, as long as it dries you.
Oh, Peter! Can you really not
No, I don't
see
see
that this
and
is a dark navy and this is more a royal? But please tell me that you can see. Please tell me.
For me, they're the same.
Okay.
Would you like to see some other good things in the room?
Yes.
It might calm you down.
Please, tell me.
We have brand new hospitality trays.
I noticed, and that is a very, very, very good thing to have done.
Yeah, at least this way we're going to have a decent, respectable
What have we done
tray.
about leads that are cobbled together?
No, they're not cobbled together anymore.
OK.
But
Peter's moved forward under Ruth's tutelage, but has he done enough? The great and the good of Hastings are making their way to the vital launch party. Will it go with a bang?
I mean, is there any timing to this party? Are they meant to be eating food now? Are we waiting for ribbons to be cut? What are we? No, they're not.
Or a whimper?
The fact that we're not quite ready for the opening ceremony is neither here nor there.
For the past 4 months, Ruth Watson's been attempting to rejuvenate the Grand Hotel in Hastings. Owner Peter Mann was losing business to budget rivals. He's updated his hotel and transformed his formerly cluttered dining room into a small-scale museum of local history. Now the Grand can really stand out from the crowd. Ruth's keen they get some publicity from the transformation, so she suggested that Peter holds a party to celebrate the hotel's renaissance.
Look at this. Get off there.
With key players from Hastings attending the party, Peter finally seems to be taking Ruth's advice to heart.
Hello, Jim.
Peter's even organised a surprise for his guests, but it doesn't take Ruth much time to track it down.
Hello.
Peter's enlisted the local 1066 pipers to provide the soundtrack for his relaunch. But will they be playing a victory march or piping a retreat?
This is the best thing that's ever happened to me at the Grand.
With the party due to start in 5 minutes, things aren't off to a great start. Many of the guests have arrived, but Peter's already fallen behind schedule.
The fact that we're not quite ready for the opening ceremony is neither here nor there.
He's still preparing for the guest of honour, Hastings Lady Mayoress, who'll perform a ribbon-cutting ceremony to mark the official opening of the dining room.
Now we're going to bring Maureen Charlesworth, the mayor, down here in between showers, and she will cut it. I think she'll be the only person out here.
While the pipers brave the rain, the guests are left without a timetable, waiting for something to happen.
I'm just a tad concerned that Peter's invited all these people from Hastings, but I'm not sure there's much plan about how the party is going to work. It's a little bit chaotic.
Time for Ruth to inject a sense of urgency.
Is there any timing to this party? Are they meant to be eating food
they're
now? Are we
eating-
waiting
they're
for
eating
ribbons
now.
to be cut? What are we? No,
They're
they're
eating
not.
and drinking now.
They're only drinking. They're not eating. So I
Oh.
just wanted to know: Are you going to
waiting for Maureen
announce?
to
Are you
appear.
going to announce?
Yes.
What's going to
We're
happen?
going to
or-
appear and announce.
Okay.
Finally, it's time for the ribbon-cutting ceremony.
Ladies and gentlemen,
There we go.
Right. I have great pleasure in reopening
Lady-
this hotel, the Grand Hotel, and I wish you all the very, very best for the future.
Thank you very
Bless
much,
you.
Maureen. That's very kind of you.
Cut this lovely piece of tartan.
The hotel policy has always been to treat all our guests as special guests. But there's one lady here who's very intelligent, very smart, very creative, and has been an inspiration behind this whole makeover, and that is Ruth Watson, the hotel inspector. Thank you, Ruth, so much.
Peter. Now, Peter obviously asked for my help, and the hotel was, I think, looking rather sad.
Oh, it was a dump.
So the mystery remains is why, if Peter knew it was a dump, he didn't do something about it. Why did it take me to show you that you need to do something
I'm
about
a
the dump?
lazy dinosaur that
Okay.
swans along in my lazy way, and I needed a kick up the backside, and you did it.
Anyway, thank you very much, and I hope that everyone can start eating, Peter, can't they?
Despite the inauspicious start, everyone seems to be enjoying themselves.
I think Peter's done really well on his guest list. There's a lot of people impassioned about Hastings and St Leonard's here. On that basis, I think he's scored highly. I don't think there's much organisation going on, but who cares? They're all having a great time, and if it makes people think that this is the place to be, then all for the good.
When Ruth first arrived, Mr. Mann had spent 20 years putting off vital work. Now both Peter and the hotel have been given a new lease of life. The following morning, the skies have cleared as Ruth returns for one final discussion with Peter.
So, we have Peter in a hotel which looks very good now from the outside.
And I look good too.
I hope it's emblematic of the future, this crisp, tailored look. I do remain slightly concerned that you will just relax back into the old list land.
Before I met you, I would have just carried on jogging along an average hotel. With your input, I've been inspired to improve it and will carry on improving it. I will not just stop.
I don't want you to take comfort in being a fuddy-duddy and a dinosaur. I want you to reject that image of yourself and feel that that's part of the past.
I feel far more confident, you see.
Right, good.
Look at this. And if you feel proud of something, you enjoy your work more and you feel confident that your guests and visitors are also going to enjoy it and feel comfortable here.
You've got to actually wear the mantle of hotelier with pride, and that means great attention to detail and always, always on a daily basis looking to see what can be done.
Yes, miss.
Well, Peter, I wish you good luck, but most of all, I wish you great perseverance and a lot of pace.
Ruth, it's been a pleasure. Really, I mean that sincerely. You've helped us enormously, and we're much obliged to it.
Well, I hope you carry on the good work.
Thank you.
Okay.
Peter admits the Grand Hotel was a dump and that he needed a good kicking. Well, I've administered that kicking and I think it's had some good effects. The front of the house looks immeasurably better, as does the breakfast room that we've helped him with. However, there still remains the problem that he just doesn't see the deficiencies that other people do. And unless he really cracks on with this programme of refurbishment, I'm slightly concerned that this hotel will still fall short of its grand billing.